Welcome. If the process of choosing a woman has ever felt like walking through fog, if charm, beauty, or passion ever led you down a path that ended in regret, then you're not alone. Most men were never taught to see clearly, but the Stoics knew something we've forgotten, and today that truth is coming to light. Keep your mind open, let's begin. They tell you to be a gentleman, to show effort, to win her affection, to prove yourself as worthy of her time, her body, her love. From every corner of society, you're fed the same script. Be good enough, and maybe she'll pick you. So you chase, you adjust, you soften your edges. You ask yourself, what do women want, when the deeper question was always, what kind of woman do I want to walk beside? Because here's the truth no one told you. Men weren't made to wait at the gate, hoping to be selected. Men were made to choose, and not from ego, from clarity. First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. Epictetus. But most never reach this clarity. They spend years performing, hoping, pleasing. They learn how to make women laugh, how to talk smooth, how to hold doors and send flowers, but they never learn the one thing that sets a man apart. How to look at a woman, truly look and decide, is this woman aligned with my path, my peace, my essence? Or am I just responding to beauty, to softness, to attention? You see, the moment you place all the value in being chosen, you've already lost your center. Because the woman becomes your goal, not a mirror. And you lose the ability to discern. Discernment is a rare word in a world of impulses. But the Stoic man doesn't choose based on chemistry or craving. He watches, he listens, he feels, and above all, he waits. Not from fear, from strength. He doesn't rush to be liked. He doesn't adapt himself to fit into her world. He assesses quietly, calmly, and he chooses when it's time, because he knows. The more desperate you are to be chosen, the more likely you are to choose wrong. Think about it. How many men do you know who gave their energy, their loyalty, their essence to a woman who never truly respected them, who ignored the red flags because she was beautiful, who clung to affection that came in waves, thinking it was love? They weren't victims. They were untrained to choose. They saw her as the reward, but in doing so, they forgot to check the cost. This is the first shift. You're not here to be approved of. You're not an applicant. You are the observer, and she is not a prize. She is a mirror. One that reflects back your discipline, your needs, your wounds. And if you're not careful, one that will exploit them. So stand still, look again, and ask not, does she want me? Ask instead, do I trust myself enough to see who she really is and walk away if she isn't built for the man I'm becoming? That's where your power begins. Not when she says yes, but when you decide if her yes is worth receiving. Not every woman deserves your depth. You were taught to believe that if you're a good man, honest, kind, loyal, then all women will recognize your worth. That your emotional depth is something to be offered freely, poured into any woman who gives you her time, her smile, her warmth. But the truth is far more brutal. Not every woman can hold what you carry. Not every woman is equipped for your honesty, your loyalty, your heart. This isn't bitterness, it's discernment. Because offering your depth to someone who hasn't earned it isn't noble, it's naive. It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it. Seneca. You waste your strength when you give your soul to beauty before you see her values. You waste your presence when you respond to attraction before you've observed her alignment. You see a soft voice, a lovely face, a body that fits your fantasies. But have you seen her truth, her temperament, her relationship to chaos, her ability to regulate emotion, or her need to control through it? Most men never stop long enough to ask, can this woman hold the kind of presence I bring? Can she move through storms without trying to burn down everything around her? Can she witness love without trying to possess it, manipulate it, or test it into collapse? Because if she can't, no matter how good the connection feels at the start, you're headed for emotional warfare. And all because you mistook appearance for readiness, performance for depth. You don't need to hate her for that. You just need to stop giving your inner world to those who haven't earned entry. The Stoic man doesn't withhold because he's closed, he withholds because he's conscious. He watches how she handles silence, challenge time. He's not impressed by immediate chemistry. He's interested in how she responds when things don't go her way, how she handles hearing no, whether her affection deepens through adversity or collapses into accusation. This is not about finding the perfect woman. That illusion doesn't exist. It's about this. Will your soul find peace in her presence or performance? If her joy depends on how much you sacrifice yourself, if her love disappears the moment you draw a boundary, if her attention is high when you chase and low when you rest, then she does not deserve your depth. She deserves your distance, because what you carry inside you, the calm, the leadership, the fire, the devotion, is not for the woman who triggers your survival instincts. It's for the one who brings your nervous system home. And that kind of woman you don't find when you're busy trying to be enough for everyone. You find her when you stop, go still, and wait to be met where you already are. When a woman feels chosen too soon, she smiled at you, showed interest, gave you affection, and before you knew it, you were all in. Your thoughts revolved around her, your time bent toward her. Your emotions were no longer yours, they moved with her presence. And just like that, you weren't choosing, you were falling, not in love, but into emotional imbalance, into the illusion of connection built on premature commitment. Because when a woman feels chosen too soon, she doesn't feel special. She feels suspicious. She doesn't think, wow, he values me. She thinks he doesn't even know me. Why is he so available? He who is not a good servant will not be a good master. Plato echoed in Stoic principles. Why does this happen? Because most men have never been taught to watch before investing, to allow space, to observe her pattern, not just her presentation. So instead, they offer commitment as a bid for love, a subconscious trade. If I show you I've chosen you quickly, maybe you'll choose me back. But women don't want to be won by early devotion. They want to be seen and understood. And no man can understand what he's already surrendered himself to. When you choose too soon, you skip over reality. You attach before you've gathered evidence. You create emotional obligation where there should still be curiosity. And the weight of that feels heavy, not romantic, not because she's ungrateful, but because you've confused projection with connection. You gave your loyalty to an illusion. The Stoic doesn't do this. The Stoic waits. He does not fold at the first sign of affection, nor does he rush to claim what hasn't revealed its core. His restraint is not distance, it's self-respect. He needs more than eye contact and shared music taste to choose someone. He needs time. He needs to watch how she treats silence, how she handles challenge, whether her softness is constant or conditional, whether her independence is real or simply armor until you show interest. Because if you choose her before you see her, you're not choosing, you're fantasizing. When a woman feels that you've selected her before seeing her fully, before knowing her temperament, her triggers, her values, she doesn't feel honored. She feels pressured. And the subconscious test begins. If he chose me too fast, how solid is his frame? That's when she starts to pull back, not always intentionally, but instinctively, because attraction needs polarity, and polarity dies the moment you hand her your soul without ever asking whether hers is strong enough to hold it. This is not about playing games, it's about playing real, choosing slowly, loving deeply only after you've seen her fully, not in perfection, but in reality. And when you wait long enough to see that when your choice is earned, not automatic, she'll feel something she rarely feels in today's world. Respected, not for her body, not for her charm, but for her essence. And that's what makes her choose you back. Stoicism teaches you to observe, not attach. A Stoic man doesn't rush to conclusions. He doesn't fall for potential or chase validation disguised as connection. He observes, not with cynicism, but with clarity, not from coldness, but from composure, because he knows the woman you meet in the first 3 weeks is a representative. The real woman appears later. And if you attach too soon, you won't see her when she finally shows up. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Epictetus. What does this mean? That when you're willing to observe rather than attach, You won't always look romantic. You won't say all the things she expects. You won't echo every compliment or reciprocate every early gesture. She might even wonder if you're interested. But what she's really feeling is your center, your refusal to fake depth for early intimacy, your calm gaze that says, "I see you, but I'm not hypnotized." Attachment blurs vision. Observation sharpens it. When you observe, you give her space to reveal herself without forcing a shape. You let her rhythm unfold naturally. You don't idealize, you notice. You pick up on the moments that don't match the mask, the contradiction between her words and her actions, the way she speaks about her exes, the way she handles waiting stress and not getting her way. Because this is how truth emerges, not in what she presents, but in what leaks through when she thinks you're already sold. And if you're too eager, you'll miss it. Observation is not detachment. It's patience with precision. The man who observes is not aloof, he's deliberate. And that deliberation creates a gravitational field. It tells her without words, "You don't get access to my inner world just because you're beautiful. I need to feel who you are when things get real." And when she senses that your energy is not cheap, not hungry, not begging to be understood, she softens, not out of control, out of respect. Because most men are mirrors. They reflect what she shows. But the Stoic man, he's a mountain. He watches from above. He doesn't chase the cloud. He waits to see if it rains with truth or vanishes with time. In a world where everyone rushes to connect, your refusal to attach becomes rare, and what is rare becomes powerful. She might say, "I can't read you." What she really means is, "I can't control you," and that's when her real self starts to show. Not to win you, but to earn you. Because the man who observes rather than attaches doesn't end up with the loudest woman in the room. He ends up with the truest. She's not the prize, truth is. You've been conditioned to view her as the destination, the goal, the prize to be earned through charm, effort, and consistency. You've been told that if you can just become desirable enough, she'll finally see your worth and reward you with affection, with attention, with love. But here's what Stoicism teaches you when you finally stop running. She's not the prize, truth is. If you seek truth, you will not seek victory by dishonorable means. And if you seek victory by dishonorable means, you are not seeking truth. Epictetus. When a man makes the woman the prize, he loses sight of what he actually needs. A relationship built on reality, on alignment, on mutual strength. But when he sees truth as the highest aim, he no longer contorts himself for approval. He no longer asks, "How do I win her?" He asks, "What does this connection reveal about me? And is it honest?" You are not here to impress her. You are not here to bend. You are here to discern. Because if she is beautiful but chaotic, if she is seductive but dishonest, if she is affectionate but tests you for weakness, then it is not her you are drawn to. It is your unresolved craving. Craving is not clarity. Fantasy is not truth. And a woman's attention is not a signal to forget yourself. But men who pedestal the feminine, who worship the possibility of being chosen, often abandon their own inner compass. They confuse attraction with compatibility. They confuse temporary validation with lasting peace. They trade sovereignty for stimulation, and it leaves them lost. The Stoic man understands this. Beauty is everywhere, but resonance is rare. He knows that a woman's face may stir his body, but only her truth can calm his soul. So he does not chase chemistry. He seeks alignment. He does not confuse her interest with integrity. He watches how she lives when she doesn't think she's being watched. He does not place her on a pedestal. He stands eye to eye, heart steady, asking, "Are you built for the path I'm walking?" And if she's not, if the truth reveals incompatibility, he leaves. Not out of fear, but out of honor. Because the man who values truth above approval is the man who becomes untouchable. No woman can manipulate him. No desire can enslave him. No illusion can keep him trapped. Because his heart is already loyal, not to her, not to the fantasy, but to truth itself. And when a man lives from that place, he stops asking, "Will she choose me?" He starts asking, "Do I want her in the temple of my peace?" And that brother, is the moment she starts chasing you. The feminine responds to selection, not submission. Most men submit to beauty, to charm, to affection. They confuse being emotionally available with being emotionally vulnerable too soon, too fast. They open themselves before she's shown herself, and in doing so, they surrender their frame. But the feminine doesn't respond to early submission. She may enjoy it for a while, even exploit it, but she doesn't respect it. Because the feminine doesn't crave a man who gives himself away. She craves a man who selects with strength. Don't explain your philosophy, embody it, Epictetus. To embody Stoicism is to live with discernment, not detachment. It's not about closing your heart, it's about protecting its direction. And when you move with intention, women feel it. They sense that your energy isn't available to just anyone, that your time isn't earned with beauty alone, that your leadership is not for sale, it's granted only through alignment. This activates something primal in her, because when you choose her slowly, when you choose her, after observing her integrity, her patterns, her energy under pressure, she feels seen, not worshipped. She feels the weight of your attention. And more than that, she wants to earn it again. The feminine thrives in polarity. When you're in your frame, emotionally anchored, slow to commit, deep in presence but unattached in outcome, she feels your gravity. And gravity doesn't chase. It pulls, quietly, unapologetically, irresistibly. That's why your selection has more power than your performance. Because performance fades, selection stays. It's a choice you make with your full awareness, your full spirit. It says, I see you, not just your body, not just your smile, but your essence. And I choose to bring you closer, not because I need to, but because you've shown me that you belong here. And when a woman feels chosen like that from sovereignty, not hunger, something changes in her. She stops testing as much, she stops performing, she relaxes into the energy of a man who doesn't chase her, but sees her. Most men reverse this. They offer themselves fully and wait to be chosen back. But that equation only leads to anxiety, to unbalanced dynamics, to resentment, because the one who chases most loses themselves first. But the man who selects with stillness, who doesn't collapse into the moment, who lets her rise into his standards, that man is unforgettable, not because he's cold, but because he's clear, not because he holds back from fear, but because his presence is earned, not handed out like a discount. And when she feels that, she doesn't need to be convinced. She feels it in her body, that she's been truly chosen. Signs you're choosing her for the wrong reasons. Not every yes is true. Not every desire is clean. Sometimes the woman you think you want, the one you've convinced yourself is special. Different soul aligned is simply a reflection of your own unmet needs. Your fear of being alone. Your hunger for validation. Your desperation to finally feel enough. And the danger isn't just in her, it's in why you're drawn to her. Man is not worried by real problems so much as by his imagined anxieties about real problems. Epictetus, you might say it's love. But if she causes chaos and you call it passion, if she disrespects your boundaries and you call it feminine fire, if she makes you anxious and you call it butterflies, then you're not choosing her, your wounds are. There's a difference between resonance and reactivity, between being seen and being triggered into addiction. The feminine energy that truly supports your evolution won't provoke your nervous system into overdrive. It won't have you checking your phone, overthinking every word, walking on eggshells to keep her attention. But the woman who mirrors your mother wound, the one who withholds affection until you perform, the one who flips from warm to cold then back again, she'll have you hooked. Not because she's a match, but because she's familiar. You chase her not out of alignment, but out of survival. You chase her because she reminds you of the earliest place you lost yourself. And Stoicism invites you to pause, to hold still, to stop feeding the craving, to see clearly not through longing, but through presence. Ask yourself, do I want her because of how I feel when I'm around her, or because of how I feel about myself when I'm not? Do I feel expanded in her presence, or anxious to keep her impressed? Do I love her, or do I love the idea of finally being loved? These questions cut deep. They're supposed to. Because until you uncover the true reason you're drawn to her, you'll keep repeating the cycle, choosing women who reflect your pain instead of your peace. The Stoic man doesn't fear desire, he examines it. He knows that clarity isn't found in momentum, it's found in stillness. So he doesn't run with the feeling, he questions it. He watches what it's asking for, what it's feeding, what it's distracting him from. And most of the time, it's not love, it's loneliness, it's shame. It's the ghost of a boy trying to be worthy in a world that never saw him. But you're not that boy anymore. You don't have to chase love to feel alive. You don't have to convince anyone to stay. You don't need to be chosen by the kind of woman who profits from your uncertainty. You just need to wake up. To see that true power begins the moment you ask, am I choosing her for who she is, or for who I'm afraid I am without her? When you don't need her, you choose better. The more desperate you are to be loved, the more blind you become to what love actually is. When you're hungry, everything looks like food. When you're lonely, every smile looks like a soulmate. But the Stoic man, he doesn't choose when he's starving, he chooses when he's full, not with ego, with enoughness. And that one shift from needing her to not needing anyone changes the entire game. Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control. Epictetus, when you don't need her, your energy speaks differently. It doesn't beg, it doesn't rush, it doesn't overextend itself to prove worth. You walk into the room knowing that love doesn't validate you, it aligns with you. You stop being a magnet for chaos and start becoming a mirror for peace. And women feel it. When you need her, she becomes your drug. Her attention regulates your emotions. Her silence becomes your panic. You overanalyze her texts, her tone, her moods. You shrink yourself when she's upset. You overpromise when she's distant. You trade authenticity for security, and you call it connection. But when you're full, when your self-worth is no longer attached to her reactions, you start choosing differently. You no longer feel pulled to the emotionally unavailable woman. You don't find chaos exciting anymore. You no longer fantasize about fixing her or being the exception to her broken patterns. You want quiet strength. You want emotional clarity. You want someone who brings out your sovereignty, not your survival instincts. And most of all, you can walk away. Even from beauty, even from chemistry, even from a connection that used to keep you up at night. Because now you're not moved by how she makes you feel in fleeting moments. You're anchored in how she aligns with the man you've become. That's when your true standards emerge. Not the ones you talk about, the ones you enforce in silence. You don't need to explain them, you just live them. And any woman who's not ready for that frequency, she falls away naturally. Not because you're better, but because you're clear. The man who doesn't need her is finally free to see her as she is. Not as his fantasy, not as his fix, but as a full human being with her own patterns, wounds, gifts, and path. And from that space, he doesn't chase collapse or overcommit. He simply chooses. And that choice, from calm, from vision, from wholeness, is the most attractive, rare, and powerful force a man can bring into any relationship. Because now when you choose, it's not to fill a hole. It's to walk beside someone, not because you're afraid to be alone, but because you've built a life that's already enough. And anyone who enters it must enhance, not complete you. The Stoic way, love without losing yourself. A man who cannot be alone will never lead a woman. He may entertain her, he may please her, he may win her interest, but he will never anchor her. Because love without grounding is dependency, and connection without clarity is confusion. That's why Stoicism doesn't teach you to avoid love, it teaches you how to carry yourself through it. He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he is not, but rejoices for those which he has. Epictetus, when you're rooted in yourself, love doesn't unbalance you, it refines you. You don't lose yourself in her approval. You don't morph to avoid her disappointment. You don't chase closeness at the cost of dignity. Because you've done the work to know who you are before she arrived, and who you'll still be if she leaves. This is where most men collapse. They fall into a woman's rhythm so fast they forget their own. They rearrange their values, routines, even friendships, to keep her close, And in doing so, they trade the very thing that drew her in to begin with: presence, direction, self-possession. But the Stoic man remains. He remains in his rituals, his silence, his leadership, his mission, not to prove anything, but because these are the pillars of his inner kingdom. He doesn't silence his truth to keep her happy. He doesn't abandon boundaries to avoid conflict. He doesn't rush to resolve discomfort just because she's upset. He holds. He listens. He leads through presence. And the woman who's ready for a man like that, not a boy, not a people pleaser, but a grounded masculine force, will rise to meet him. She will soften, not because she's told to, but because she feels safe enough to. You love her. But you love yourself more, not in a selfish way, in a sacred way. You protect your core because without it, you have nothing to offer her but emotional volatility and silent resentment. And that's not love, that's need. So when tension arises, you don't beg. When she tests, you don't panic. When she pulls away, you don't chase. You stay. You breathe. You lead with stillness. And if she's meant to stand beside you, she will find her way back, not to the man who loses himself for love, but to the one who loves without ever leaving himself. Because that's the man a woman respects. That's the man who becomes unforgettable. Not the one who gave her everything at once, but the one who gave her what mattered slowly, intentionally, from a place of wholeness. And in that presence, in that unapologetic clarity, she finds something no modern romance can fake. A man who can love without ever becoming lost. If you choose her from wholeness, she'll feel it in her bones. Most men hope to be chosen because they haven't yet chosen themselves. They look for reflection in her eyes, approval in her voice, peace in her presence. But what Stoicism reveals brutally and beautifully is that your inner world must come first. Because if you don't know who you are, how could you ever know who belongs beside you? You were never meant to chase her light. You were meant to become your own flame. You were never meant to search for safety in her affection. You were meant to become the mountain she leans on. So stop asking whether she likes you. Ask whether she aligns with your values, your mission, your spirit. Stop collapsing into connection because you're lonely. Learn to sit in the silence long enough for clarity to arrive. Stop calling chaos passion. Stop calling anxiety excitement. Stop calling intensity intimacy. And above all, stop giving the sacred parts of yourself to women who haven't earned access. Because once you've done the inner work, once you've chosen solitude over simulation, peace over pleasure, truth over performance, you'll stop needing her to complete you. You'll only choose the one who expands you. And when she feels that you want her but don't need her, that you see her but don't worship her, she will lean in. Not because you begged, not because you proved yourself, but because she knows. You could have chosen any woman, but you waited. You watched. You stayed grounded. And then you chose her. And that kind of choice, that kind of love, it's not addictive. It's undeniable.